Ambassador Elena Vasquez stood in the grand chamber of the Galactic Council, her hands clasped behind her back. The circular room stretched high above her, filled with beings from across the galaxy. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few seemed to be made of living crystal. All of them were looking at her with what she could only describe as pity. Ambassador Vasquez, High Counselor Thexitar said from his elevated platform. His reptilian features showed no emotion, but his voice carried a tone of finality. The Council has heard your request for military assistance. We have made our decision. Elena felt her heart sink, but she kept her face neutral. She had been Earth's representative to the Galactic Council for 5 years now. In that time, she had learned to read the room. This was not going to go well. The Kraylan Empire has issued a legitimate territorial claim, Thextar continued. While we understand your people have settled those 3 worlds, the Kraylans discovered them first according to ancient star charts. The Council recommends you negotiate a peaceful transfer of the colonies. Negotiate? Elena's voice was calm, but inside she was burning with anger. High Counselor, the Kraylans are demanding we abandon 3 worlds where 15 million humans live. They've given us 48 hours. That's not negotiation. That's an ultimatum. A massive creature that looked like a floating jellyfish spoke up from the left side of the chamber. Ambassador, your species is new to the galaxy. You must understand that the Kraylans are a warrior race. They have never lost a war in 400 years. It is better to give them what they want than to fight. Elena turned to face the speaker. Counselor Veshina, are you saying the Council will not help us defend our own people? We are saying, Thextar interrupted, that violence is not the answer. Humanity has been part of this council for 23 years. In that time, you have shown remarkable skills in art, culture, and diplomacy. You are a soft species, Ambassador. You have no natural weapons, no armor plating, no great physical strength. The Kraylans are 3 times your size, with claws that can tear through metal. So we should just give up? Elena asked. We are offering you our thoughts and condolences, another counselor said. But the council does not interfere in territorial disputes of this nature. Most species find a way to coexist with the Kraylans. Fighting them is unthinkable. The doors to the chamber suddenly opened with a loud bang. War Master Drakthal entered, his massive form filling the doorway. The Kraylan commander stood nearly 3 meters tall, covered in dark red scales that looked like natural armor. His yellow eyes scanned the room before settling on Elena. Ah, the human ambassador, he said, his voice a deep rumble. I came to hear your answer personally. Elena turned to face him, her chin raised. She was barely half his height, but she didn't step back. War Master Drakthal, humanity's answer is no. We will not abandon our colonies. The chamber fell silent. Several counselors shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Drakthal stared at her for a long moment, then threw his head back and laughed. The sound echoed through the chamber like thunder. You fight us? Your species has no fangs, no claws, no strength. You are food animals playing at being soldiers. We are not as weak as we look, Elena said quietly. I have seen your military reports, Drakthal said, still chuckling. Your ships are slow. Your weapons are primitive. Your soldiers are fragile creatures that break easily. The Council is right to call you a soft species. He leaned down, bringing his massive head close to Elena's. In 2 days, we will take those worlds. Your people can leave peacefully or they can die. The choice is yours. Elena didn't flinch. She looked directly into his yellow eyes. Then I suppose you'll learn something about humans that the Council doesn't know. And what is that? Drakthal asked, amused. We don't like bullies. Drakthal laughed again and turned to leave. Your bravery is admirable, little human. But bravery without strength is just foolishness. My fleet will arrive at your colony of New Britannia in 48 hours. I look forward to your surrender. As the massive Kraylan left the chamber, Thextar spoke again. Ambassador Vasquez, please reconsider. The Kraylans have conquered 17 species. They are unstoppable. Elena turned back to the council. High Counselor, I have a question. In the 400 years the Kraylans have been conquering worlds, has anyone ever fought back? Really fought back? Thextar seemed confused by the question. Most species engage in some defensive battles, yes. But the Kraylans always win. That's not what I asked, Elena pressed. Has anyone fought a total war against them? Has anyone made them bleed for every inch of ground? Has anyone made them afraid? Afraid? Veshina's voice was shocked. Ambassador, war in the galaxy is a civilized affair. We have rules. We have honor. You have rules, Elena interrupted. We have history. 4,000 years of human history is filled with one thing: war. We fought ourselves for so long that we got very, very good at it. Maybe too good. She looked around the chamber at all the alien faces. The Kralins think we're soft because we don't have claws or armor. But humanity learned long ago that the deadliest weapon isn't the one you're born with. It's the one you build. She pulled out a small communication device and pressed a button. This is Ambassador Vasquez. I'm returning to Earth immediately. Inform Admiral Kovac to implement Protocol Omega. Ambassador, Thextar said urgently. What is Protocol Omega? Elena looked at him with an expression that made several counselors lean back in their seats. It wasn't anger. It wasn't fear. It was something they had never seen from a human before. Cold determination. It's what happens when you back a peaceful species into a corner, she said quietly. The council wanted us to be diplomats. We tried. But if the Kralins want war, then war is what they'll get. Not the civilized kind you're used to. Real war. Human war. You cannot win, Thextar said. Maybe not, Elena admitted. But I promise you this, High Counselor. If we go down, we're taking them with us. And every species in this galaxy will learn a very important lesson about humanity. What lesson? Veshna asked. Elena walked toward the exit, her footsteps echoing in the silent chamber. At the door, she turned back one last time. That we may be soft on the outside, but when you push us, you'll find something very hard underneath. The Kralins wanted a fight. They're about to discover what happens when you pick a fight with a species that spent 10,000 years fighting itself. She left the chamber, leaving behind a council that suddenly wasn't sure about anything anymore. Back on Earth, in the United Earth Federation headquarters, Admiral Kovac received the message. He looked at his command staff, all of them waiting for orders. Gentlemen and ladies, he said, his voice steady. The Kralins are coming. The council won't help us, so we do this ourselves. He pressed a button on his console. Begin Operation Retaliation. Show them what humans do when threatened. The staff began moving immediately, pulling up battle plans that had been prepared for years. Plans the council had never seen. Plans that would change the galaxy forever. War was coming, and the galaxy had no idea what humanity was capable of. War Master Drakthal sat in his command chair aboard the battleship Crimson Fang, watching the view screen with satisfaction. 47 Kralin warships moved through space in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming red and black under the light of distant stars. It was an impressive sight, one that had made countless species surrender before a single shot was fired. We are approaching the human colony of New Britannia, his tactical officer reported. The planet is within weapons range. Any response from the humans? Drakthal asked. Nothing, War Master. No communications. No defensive formations. Their orbital stations are active, but they have made no aggressive moves. Drakthal nodded. This was how it always went. The prey species saw his fleet and realized the fight was already over. Soon the human colony administrator would appear on his screen, begging for mercy, offering surrender. Open a channel to the planet, he ordered. The communications officer worked for a moment, then shook his head. War Master, they are not accepting our hails. Not accepting? Drakthal frowned. That was unusual. Then target their primary city with a warning shot. A single plasma bolt near their capital building. Let them see our power. The weapons officer locked onto the target and fired. A brilliant streak of superheated plasma shot toward the planet. Drakthal watched, waiting for the expected result. The plasma bolt never reached the surface. A beam of intense light shot up from the planet's surface, intercepting the bolt and dissipating it in a flash of energy. What was that? Drakthal demanded. Analysis shows it was a high-energy laser, War Master. But the power level, it's far beyond what our intelligence report suggested the humans possessed. Before Drakthal could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. War Master. Multiple contacts. They were hiding in the asteroid field. The view screen changed to show tactical data. 20 human ships, much smaller than the Kralin vessels, were emerging from the nearby asteroid belt. They had been sitting there waiting, completely hidden from Kralin sensors. How did we not detect them? Drakthal roared. They appear to have been running completely silent, War Master. No power signatures, no heat emissions. They were drifting like dead rocks. Drakthal watched as the human ships suddenly came to life, their engines burning bright. But they didn't move forward in formation like proper warships. Instead, they scattered in all directions, moving in chaotic, unpredictable patterns. "All ships, engage the enemy," Drakthal commanded. "Show these humans how real warriors fight." The Kraylan fleet moved to intercept, their massive ships turning ponderously. The humans were faster, much faster than the intelligence reports had indicated. They darted between the Kraylan vessels like insects, too quick to track properly. Then the humans opened fire. It wasn't like any battle Drakthal had ever seen. There were no formal challenges, no honorable exchanges of fire between matched opponents. The humans simply attacked whoever was closest, firing weapons and then immediately running away before the Kraylans could return fire. "Cowards," Drakthal snarled. "They won't even stand and fight." But cowardly or not, it was effective. One of his ships, the Bone Crusher, suddenly went dark as a human vessel shot past it at incredible speed. "Bone Crusher, report." "War Master, we've been hit by some kind of kinetic projectile. It punched straight through our shields and into our engine core. We're losing power." "Kinetic projectiles?" Drakthal was confused. Who used simple metal slugs in space combat? But he quickly realized the problem. The Kraylan shields were designed to stop energy weapons. A physical object moving at tremendous speed went through them like they weren't even there. More alarms. Another ship was reporting damage. Then another. The humans were using multiple types of weapons, switching between lasers, missiles, and those devastating kinetic rounds. They weren't giving the Kraylans time to adapt their defenses. "War Master, we have mines." The humans seeded the space around the planet with mines. 3 Kraylan ships on the flanks suddenly exploded as they hit the hidden weapons. Drakthal felt something he hadn't experienced in decades of warfare. Confusion. The humans were fighting without any honor, without any rules. They were using every dirty trick imaginable. A small human ship shot directly toward the Crimson Fang. Drakthal smiled. Finally, a direct confrontation. "Target that vessel and destroy it." His weapons officer fired. But the human ship suddenly decelerated hard and the plasma bolt shot past it harmlessly. The ship immediately accelerated again, closing the distance. "It's not firing, War Master. It's just flying straight at us." Too late, Drakthal realized what was happening. "Evasive maneuvers?" The human ship slammed into the Crimson Fang's shield at full speed and exploded. But it wasn't a normal explosion. The blast was nuclear, a small fusion bomb that turned the ship into a miniature star. The Crimson Fang's shields flickered and died, overloaded by the blast. Shield generators are offline. "Hull breaches on decks 4 through 7. "They're insane," someone shouted. "They used their own ship as a bomb." Drakthal stared at the view screen in disbelief. What kind of species sacrificed their own people like that? What kind of warriors turned their own vessels into weapons? More human ships were approaching now, and Drakthal could see small objects dropping away from them. "What are those?" "Drones, War Master. Hundreds of them. They're autonomous attack drones." The small machines swarmed over the Kraylan ships like predatory insects, targeting sensors, weapons, and engines. They were too small and too numerous to effectively fight. For every one destroyed, 3 more took its place. Then the railgun barrage began. From positions far outside the battle, human weapons platforms that had been completely hidden began firing. Long metal rods accelerated to incredible speeds came streaking through space, slamming into Kraylan vessels with devastating force. "All ships, retreat," Drakthal finally ordered. Pride warred with survival instinct, but he wasn't a fool. This wasn't a battle anymore. It was a slaughter. "Fall back to Rally Point Omega." The Kraylan fleet turned and ran, their great warships limping away from the human colony. Behind them, 12 Kraylan vessels floated dead in space, their hulls torn open by weapons the Kraylans had never even imagined. As the Crimson Fang jumped to faster-than-light speed, Drakthal stared at the damage reports. 12 ships lost, 12, against an enemy with inferior numbers and supposedly primitive technology. His communications officer spoke quietly. "War Master, we're receiving a transmission from the human colony. It's being broadcast to the entire fleet. Put it on screen." A human appeared, wearing a dark uniform with insignias Drakthal didn't recognize. The human had a calm, almost bored expression. "This is Captain Marcus Chen of the United Earth Federation. War Master Drakthal, you came to our home expecting us to surrender. Instead, you learned the first lesson about fighting humans. We don't fight fair, we fight to win." This was just one colony, defended by one small battle group. "We have 73 colonies and the entire Earth Defense Fleet." The human's expression hardened. "Come at us again and we'll show you what real war looks like." This is your only warning. The transmission ended. Drakthal sat in silence for a long time. His warriors were looking at him, waiting for orders. Finally, he spoke. Send a message to Empress Shalkara. Tell her we need more ships. Many more ships. And tell her that everything we thought we knew about humans was wrong. Back on New Britannia, Captain Chen watched the Kraylan fleet disappear. His executive officer approached him. Sir, we lost 3 ships, including the one Commander Rodriguez used for the suicide run. I know, Chen said quietly. Make sure their families know they saved 15 million people today. He looked at the damage display, showing the 12 destroyed Kraylan ships. And send all combat data to Fleet Command. Every other colony needs to know how we beat them. Do you think they'll come back? The executive officer asked. Chen nodded. Oh, they'll come back. The Kraylans have never lost a war. They won't accept this. They'll come back with everything they have. Can we win against their entire fleet? Captain Chen thought about the question for a long moment. Then he smiled, a cold, hard smile. They still don't understand what they're fighting. They think this is about military strength. It's not. This is about willpower, and humans have been fighting wars of survival since we lived in caves. The Kraylans are about to learn what happens when you threaten our homes. The galaxy would soon learn that lesson too. Empress Shalkara sat on her throne aboard the Imperial Dreadnought, her massive form radiating barely controlled rage. The holographic display before her showed the humiliating battle at New Britannia, played back for the 3rd time. 12 ships lost, 12 of her finest warships destroyed by a species the Galactic Council called soft. This is unacceptable, she hissed, her claws digging into the armrests of her throne. Warmaster Drakthal, explain to me how you lost 12 ships to these prey animals. Drakthal stood before her, his head bowed in shame. Empress, the humans do not fight as we expected. They do not follow the rules of honorable combat. They use deception, ambush, and weapons we have never encountered. Then we will bring overwhelming force, Shalkara declared. Gather the Grand Armada. 200 ships. We will crush the human colony at Proxima Station and show them the price of defiance. Empress, Drakthal said carefully. Perhaps we should reconsider. The humans are nothing, Shalkara roared. They are a weak species that got lucky once. With the Grand Armada, we will destroy them completely. No more warnings. No more mercy. We will turn their colonies to ash. 3 weeks later, the largest Kraylan military force in 2 centuries gathered at the edge of human space. 217 warships, including the massive dreadnoughts that had conquered worlds. Admiral Kovac watched their approach from the command center on Proxima Station, humanity's most important colony outside the Sol system. Admiral, the Kraylan fleet is dropping out of FTL, his tactical officer reported. Confirmed count, 217 vessels. They're forming up at the edge of the system. Are our preparations complete? Kovac asked calmly. Yes, sir. Every defense platform is armed and active. The minefield is deployed. All civilian transports have evacuated, and the special packages are in position. Kovac nodded. He was an older man, his hair gray and his face lined with decades of military service. He had fought in the Mars Independence War, the Titan Rebellion, and countless smaller conflicts. He had seen humanity at its worst and its best, and he knew one thing with absolute certainty. Humans didn't lose when their homes were threatened. Open a channel to the Kraylan fleet, he ordered. Empress Shalkara's face appeared on the screen. Her yellow eyes gleamed with anticipation. Human Admiral, I am Empress Shalkara of the Kraylan Empire. You have 1 hour to surrender Proxima Station unconditionally, or we will destroy every human in this system. Empress, Kovac replied, his voice steady. I need you to understand something. When you attacked New Britannia, you started something you don't fully comprehend. This isn't going to end the way you think. Is that a threat? Shalkara laughed. You have perhaps 50 ships defending this station. We have over 200. Your threats are meaningless. It's not a threat, Kovac said quietly. It's a warning. You can still turn back, go home. Tell your people you changed your mind. There's no shame in choosing peace. The only peace will be after we have conquered your species, Shalkara snarled. 1 hour, human. Then we attack, the transmission ended. Kovac turned to his command staff. Well, we tried. Now we show them what total defense doctrine really means. Give the order, unleash hell. When the Kraylan fleet advanced, they expected resistance. What they got was chaos. The minefield was far more extensive than anything at New Britannia. Thousands of mines, some of them nuclear, created a wall of explosions that destroyed the first wave of Kraylan ships before they even reached weapons range. But the Kraylans pressed forward, using their numbers to push through. Then the defense platforms opened fire. But these weren't normal weapons. The humans had been busy during the 3 weeks since New Britannia. Every platform had been fitted with antimatter warheads, fusion lances, and electromagnetic pulse generators. The Kraylans had never seen antimatter used as a weapon before. When matter met antimatter, the explosion was devastating. 3 Kraylan dreadnoughts simply ceased to exist, converted to pure energy in blinding flashes. "What is that weapon?" Shalkara screamed at her science officer. "Analysis shows it's antimatter, Empress. They're annihilating matter itself." But the antimatter weapons were just the beginning. As the Kraylan fleet pushed deeper into the system, human ships appeared from behind Proxima Station's moon. These weren't the small, agile vessels from New Britannia. These were proper warships, and they opened fire with railguns that shot projectiles at a significant fraction of light speed. The Kraylans fought back fiercely. Their plasma cannons and particle beams tore into human ships, destroying them one by one. But for every human ship lost, they took down 3 or 4 Kraylan vessels. The humans were trading their lives for maximum damage, and they were doing it efficiently. Then something happened that no Kraylan had ever experienced. Their ship's computer systems began failing. Screens went dark, weapons refused to fire, life support flickered. "We're under cyber attack," a technician shouted. "Some kind of computer virus is spreading through our network." The humans had weaponized information warfare. Their hackers had found ways into Kraylan systems, and now they were shutting down ships from the inside. Dead vessels floated in space, their crews helpless as human ships picked them off one by one. But perhaps the most disturbing weapon was the psychological one. Every Kraylan ship was receiving transmissions. Battle songs from human history, images of previous Kraylan defeats, intercepted communications played back to demoralize the fleet. The humans were attacking their minds as well as their ships. One transmission particularly disturbed Drakthal, who was commanding a section of the fleet. It was a human voice, calm and measured, speaking in perfect Kraylan language. "You are the Kraylan Empire, undefeated for 400 years. But do you know why you've never lost? Because you never fought anyone who truly fought back. Every species you conquered gave up after a few battles. They valued survival over victory. We don't. We are humanity, and we have been killing each other for 10,000 years. We know 1,000 ways to destroy an enemy. We have studied every battle, every war, every conflict in our history. We turned warfare into a science. And now, you will learn what that means." The transmission then began listing human battles. Thermopylae, where 300 held off thousands. Stalingrad, where humans fought over every building. The Somme, where millions died. Hiroshima, where humans unleashed the atom. Battle after battle, war after war. A species that had spent its entire history perfecting the art of killing. The Kraylans suddenly understood what they were facing. Most species in the galaxy had been peaceful for millennia. The Kraylans themselves only fought wars of conquest every few decades. But humans? They had been in almost constant warfare for their entire existence. They hadn't just studied war. They had lived it, breathed it, perfected it. The Battle of Proxima Station lasted 16 hours. When it was over, Empress Shalkara stared at the casualty reports in disbelief. 89 ships destroyed. 89! And yes, the humans had lost too. Proxima Station was heavily damaged, and 34 human warships had been destroyed. But the station still stood, and human reinforcements were already arriving. But what terrified Shalkara most was what happened next. As her fleet limped away to regroup, she received reports from the Kraylan border worlds. Human ships had appeared, attacking supply depots, fuel refineries, and communication stations. Small, fast strike forces that hit and ran before the Kraylans could respond. The humans weren't just defending anymore. They were attacking. On Earth, Ambassador Vasquez addressed an emergency session of the Galactic Council. High Counselor Thextar and the other members watched in stunned silence as she presented footage from the Battle of Proxima Station. "The Kraylans came with overwhelming force," Vasquez said. "They expected us to break. Instead, we showed them that humanity doesn't surrender. We adapt, we improvise, we overcome." She looked around the chamber. "The Council advised us to negotiate. We tried. You told us the Kralins were unstoppable. We disagreed. Now for the first time in 400 years, the Kralin Empire is facing attacks on their own territory. Ambassador, Thextar said slowly, what are your intentions? Our intention is to survive, Vasquez replied. If that means teaching the Kralins a lesson they'll never forget, so be it. She paused. And let me be clear to every species watching this transmission. Humanity will defend itself and its allies with every weapon at our disposal. We prefer peace, but if you bring us war, we will show you what a species forged in conflict can do. The chamber was silent. The soft species had just changed the balance of power in the galaxy, and the Kralins were learning far too late that some prey animals have very sharp teeth. Commodore Marcus Chen stood on the bridge of the UEF Retribution, watching the tactical display as his strike force moved through Kralin space. He had been promoted twice since the Battle of New Britannia, and now he commanded a fleet of 30 ships tasked with one mission: make the Kralins hurt. Sir, we're approaching the Kel 7 fuel refinery, his tactical officer reported. No defensive fleet detected, just some orbital defense platforms. Good, Chen said. Deploy the drones and take out those platforms. I want that refinery destroyed in 15 minutes. The attack was swift and brutal. Human drones swarmed the defense platforms, overwhelming them with numbers while the Retribution's railguns punched through the refinery's hull. Within minutes, the massive structure that provided fuel for dozens of Kralin warships was a spreading cloud of debris. Jump to the next target, Chen ordered. Don't give them time to respond. This was the new human strategy. Don't fight the Kralin fleet directly. Instead, destroy everything that kept the fleet running. Fuel depots, supply stations, shipyards, communication relays. The humans called it strategic bombing. The Kralins had never seen anything like it. On the Kralin homeworld, War Master Drakthal sat in a strategy meeting with Empress Shalkara and her senior commanders. The mood was grim. They've destroyed 12 supply depots in the last week, one commander reported. Our fleet is running low on fuel and ammunition. We can't maintain offensive operations if we have to protect our supply lines. Then hunt them down, Shalkara roared. Send our fastest ships after these human raiders. We've tried, Empress, Drakthal said quietly. Every time we dispatch ships to intercept them, the humans are gone before we arrive. They strike and disappear, and when we do catch them, they fight with such ferocity that we lose more ships than we can afford. He pulled up a tactical display showing the latest engagement. This was yesterday at the Tharkun shipyards. A human strike force of only 12 ships attacked. We had 30 ships defending. We destroyed 5 of their vessels, but they still managed to destroy the entire shipyard before escaping. They lost nearly half their force, but they considered it an acceptable price. Acceptable? Shalkara's voice was incredulous. What kind of species considers losing half their force acceptable? One that values the mission more than individual survival, Drakthal replied. Empress, I have studied the humans since New Britannia. I've watched all their historical battle records we could obtain. They have a concept they call total war. It means using every resource, every tactic, every weapon to destroy the enemy's ability to fight. They don't just want to win battles. They want to make it impossible for us to continue the war. Another commander spoke up. We're also facing problems on the home front, Empress. The humans have blockaded 3 of our colony worlds. They're not attacking the planets, but they're preventing supply ships from reaching them. Our colonies are running out of food and medicine. This is not warfare. Shalkara slammed her fist on the table. This is terrorism. Where is the honor? Where is the dignity? They fight like cowards. They fight to win, Drakthal said. That's all that matters to them. Across the galaxy in the Galactic Council chambers, High Counselor Thextar was meeting with Ambassador Vasquez. The atmosphere was tense. Ambassador, the Council is concerned, Thextar said carefully. Your military operations against the Kralins are becoming quite extensive. We're defending ourselves, Vasquez replied. The Kralins declared war on us, remember? Yes, but Thextar struggled to find the right words. You're not just defending. You're attacking their infrastructure. You're blockading their colonies. This is unprecedented. So was attacking our colonies with 200 ships, Vasquez said calmly. Counselor, you told us we couldn't win against the Kralins. You were wrong. Now we're showing them that attacking humanity has consequences. There are reports of food shortages on Kralin colonies. Another counselor interjected. Civilians are suffering. And whose fault is that? Vasquez's voice hardened. We didn't start this war. We didn't threaten anyone. The Kralins came to us with demands and threats. Now they're learning what happens when they pick a fight with humanity. If their civilians are suffering, Empress Shalkara can end this war anytime she wants. Thextar leaned forward. What are your terms for peace, Ambassador? The same as they've always been, Vasquez said. The Kralins must withdraw all claims to human territory. They must pay reparations for the damages they've caused. And they must accept human observers in their military command structure to ensure they never do this again. Those terms are extremely harsh, Thextar said. So is losing hundreds of our people at Proxima Station, Vasquez replied. The Kralins wanted war. They got it. Now they'll live with the consequences. Back in Kralon space, Drakthal was leading a defensive fleet protecting the moon of Kray Prime, the capital world. Intelligence suggested a major human attack was coming, though they didn't know where or when. War Master, we have incoming ships. The sensor officer suddenly shouted. 30 human vessels approaching at high speed. Drakthal felt his blood run cold. 30 ships. That was Commodore Chen's strike force. They had destroyed more Kralin infrastructure than any other human unit. All ships battle stations, Drakthal ordered. Deploy defensive formations. Protect the orbital facilities at all costs. The human ships came in fast, their weapons already firing. But something was different this time. They weren't trying to hit and run. They were committing to a full battle. They're targeting our command ship, someone shouted. Drakthal watched as Chen's flagship, the Retribution, came straight at him. This was personal now. Two warriors who had faced each other across multiple battles were finally meeting head-on. The battle was fierce. Drakthal's fleet outnumbered the humans 2-1, and this time they had been prepared for human tactics. The Kralins fought well, using their superior numbers to surround the human vessels. But the humans fought with a desperation and skill that Drakthal had to admire, even as he tried to destroy them. Every human ship seemed to know exactly where to be, exactly when to fire. They moved like a single organism, covering each other's weaknesses and exploiting every Kralin mistake. Chen's voice suddenly broadcast across all frequencies. War Master Drakthal, this is Commodore Chen. I wanted you to see this. See what, human? Drakthal demanded. Behind you. Drakthal spun to look at the rear tactical display. His blood froze. While he had been focused on Chen's strike force, 30 more human ships had emerged from FTL right on top of the orbital facilities they were supposed to protect. It was a diversion, Drakthal whispered. The entire attack was a diversion. The second human force tore through the orbital infrastructure like wolves through sheep. Manufacturing plants, supply depots, shipyards, all of them exploded in rapid succession. The moon's defenses were completely unprepared for an attack from that direction. All ships protect the facilities, Drakthal ordered, but it was too late. By the time his fleet could disengage from Chen's force and turn around, the damage was done. The moon of Kray Prime, visible from the Kralon homeworld itself, was now a graveyard of burning installations. As the human forces retreated, Chen sent one final transmission. War Master, you're a good warrior. Your people fight with honor. But honor isn't enough. Tell your Empress that if she doesn't surrender soon, the next strike won't be on your moon. It will be on Kray Prime itself, and we have weapons you haven't seen yet. Weapons we pray we never have to use. End this war. Drakthal sat in his command chair, staring at the destruction. Around him, his officers were silent. They had just witnessed human forces strike at the heart of Kralon space, within sight of their homeworld. The psychological impact was devastating. For the first time in 400 years, the Kralon Empire was afraid. On Kray Prime, riots broke out in the streets. Citizens demanded to know why their mighty military couldn't stop the humans. Food shortages were causing unrest. The blockaded colonies were crying out for help. And every day more news came of human attacks. More Kralin ships lost, more facilities destroyed. Empress Shalkara sat alone in her throne room, watching reports from across her empire. Her military commanders were telling her they needed to negotiate. Her civilian advisors were warning of economic collapse. Her intelligence officers were showing her data that proved the humans had barely begun to use their full military capacity. War Master Drakthal entered the throne room, his posture showing defeat. Empress, he said quietly, I must tell you something difficult. We cannot win this war. Shalkara looked at him with tired eyes. Explain. The humans don't fight for glory or conquest, Drakthal said. They fight for survival. And a species fighting for survival will use every weapon, every tactic, every advantage they have. We fight with honor. They fight to win. And in the end, winning is all that matters. He paused. If we continue, they will destroy us. Maybe not in one battle, but slowly, methodically, they will tear apart everything we've built. We must surrender. The mighty Kraylan Empress, ruler of an empire that had never lost a war, bowed her head. Contact the human ambassador, she whispered. Tell her we wish to negotiate. The conference room on the neutral station of Haven 7 was silent, as the two delegations faced each other across a long table. On one side sat Empress Shalkara, War Master Drakthal, and the Kraylan Diplomatic Corps. On the other side, Ambassador Elena Vasquez, Admiral Kovac, and Commodore Marcus Chen represented humanity. High Counselor Thextar stood at the head of the table, serving as mediator. His reptilian features showed relief that this war was finally ending, but also confusion about how it had ended this way. Empress Shalkara, Thextar began, you have requested this peace negotiation. Please state your terms. Shalkara's voice was heavy with defeat. The Kraylan Empire withdraws all territorial claims on human worlds. We will cease all military operations immediately. We ask only that the humans do the same and allow our blockaded colonies to receive humanitarian aid. Vasquez nodded slowly. We can agree to that, but there are additional terms. The Kraylans must pay reparations for the damages caused during this war. You must reduce your military fleet by 40%, and you will accept human military observers for the next 10 years to ensure compliance. Those terms are harsh, Shalkara said. So was attacking our colonies with overwhelming force, Vasquez replied calmly. You started this war expecting an easy victory. You got something very different. These are the consequences, Drakthal spoke up. We accept the terms. All of them. Shalkara looked at her War Master in surprise, but he met her gaze steadily. Empress, we lost. Continuing to fight will only destroy us completely. The humans have shown restraint by not attacking Cray Prime itself. We should be grateful for that mercy. Mercy, Shalkara said bitterly. Is that what you call it? Yes, Chen said, speaking for the first time. Because we could have destroyed your homeworld, Empress. We had weapons positioned to do exactly that. Nuclear weapons, antimatter bombs, kinetic strikes from orbit. We could have killed billions of your people, but we didn't. The room went completely silent. Even Thextar looked shocked. Chen continued, his voice calm but firm. You see, that's the difference between us and you. You fight for conquest and glory. We fight to protect our homes. When our homes are safe, we stop fighting. We don't need to humiliate you or destroy your civilization. We just need you to leave us alone. Drakthal studied the human Commodore for a long moment. May I ask you a question, Commodore Chen? Of course. Now, how did you do it? How did a species with no natural weapons, no great physical strength become so effective at war? Chen was quiet for a moment, considering his answer. Because we had to. Empress, War Master, you said we have no claws or armor. That's true. But what we do have is intelligence and creativity. When our ancestors were weak, they built weapons. When they faced enemies, they developed tactics. When they went to war, they studied every battle to learn how to fight better next time. He pulled up a holographic display showing Earth's history. For 10,000 years, we fought each other. Tribe against tribe, nation against nation, ideology against ideology. We fought with sticks and stones, then swords and spears, then guns and bombs, then nuclear weapons and beyond. Every generation of humans learned from the previous one's wars. We turned warfare into a science and art, a terrible necessity. The display showed battle after battle, war after war. The Kraylans watched in growing horror as the sheer scale of human conflict became clear. We didn't want to be good at war, Chen said quietly. We had to be, or we would have gone extinct. So we studied. We practiced. We remembered. Every battle, every tactic, every strategy. We wrote it all down and taught it to the next generation. By the time we reached space, we had 10,000 years of military knowledge. When you attacked us, you weren't just fighting the United Earth Federation. You were fighting the accumulated wisdom of every human warrior who ever lived. Drakthal nodded slowly. I understand now. We were warriors who fought occasionally. You are a species of warriors who learned to live in peace. But the knowledge never left you. Exactly, Vasquez said. We prefer peace, War Master. We truly do. But when peace is not an option, We remember everything our ancestors taught us about survival. The treaty was signed an hour later. The Kralon Empire agreed to all human terms. The blockades were lifted, allowing humanitarian aid to reach Kralon colonies. Human ships began returning home, their mission complete. 1 week later, Ambassador Vasquez stood before the Galactic Council once more. This time the atmosphere was very different. Every counselor was paying close attention, and several new species had sent representatives specifically to hear her speak. Members of the council, Vasquez began, the war with the Kralons is over. They have surrendered unconditionally and agreed to our terms. But I'm not here to celebrate a military victory. I'm here to speak about the future. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of representatives from dozens of species. When the Kralons threatened us, we asked this council for help. You refused. You told us we were a soft species that couldn't possibly win a war against a military superpower. You were wrong. But I don't blame you for that mistake. You judged us based on our appearance, our culture, our peaceful nature. You didn't know what we were capable of because we had never needed to show you. Thextar shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Now you know, Vasquez continued. Humanity can fight. We can fight very well. But that's not the lesson I want you to learn today. She paused, her voice becoming firm. The lesson is this: never threaten humanity or its allies. If you do, we will defend ourselves with every weapon and every tactic we possess. But if you come to us in peace, if you offer friendship and cooperation, you will find no more loyal ally in the galaxy. A counselor from a small, relatively weak species raised a tentative hand. Ambassador, my people have long been threatened by larger, more aggressive species. Would humanity be willing to help defend others? Vasquez smiled. That depends. Are you willing to stand with us as true allies? Because that's what we offer. Not protection in exchange for subservience, but partnership between equals. If you're willing to defend us, we're willing to defend you. Within an hour, 12 species had requested formal alliance talks with humanity. Within a week, it was 30. Species that had been victims of aggression for centuries suddenly saw a new option. Ally with the humans, who had proven they could win wars against overwhelming odds. On Cray Prime, Drakthal met with Commodore Chen for a private conversation after the treaty signing. They sat in a small room, just two warriors who had faced each other in battle. I have to know, Drakthal said. Did you enjoy the war? Chen looked surprised by the question. Enjoy it? No, war is terrible. We lost thousands of good people. Ships, homes, families destroyed. There's nothing to enjoy about that. Then why are you so good at it? Because not being good at it means extinction, Chen replied. We learned early in our history that the species who couldn't fight didn't survive. So we became very, very good at surviving. He paused. But here's the thing the Kralons never understood. We can separate war from hatred. We fought you because you threatened us, not because we hate your species. Now that the war is over, we can move forward. Move forward? Drakthal was confused. In 50 years, War Master, our grandchildren might be allies. Humans don't hold eternal grudges. We fought, you lost, we made peace. That's how it works. We don't need to be enemies forever. Drakthal thought about this for a long time. That is very strange. In Kralon culture, an enemy is always an enemy. Then maybe it's time to learn a different way, Chen said. You're not our enemy anymore. You're just another species trying to survive in a big galaxy, same as us. As news of the human victory spread through the galaxy, the effect was dramatic. 3 aggressive species that had been planning expansionist campaigns suddenly abandoned them. They had watched what happened to the Kralons, and they had no desire to face human retaliation. At the same time, humanity's reputation transformed overnight. They were no longer the soft species good at art and diplomacy. They were now the species that had defeated the Kralon Empire, something no one had done in 400 years. More importantly, they were the species that had shown mercy and victory, that had stopped fighting as soon as their enemies surrendered. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted. 6 months after the war ended, a new alien civilization called the Xanthari attempted to bully a human trade convoy passing through neutral space. The Xanthari captain sent an aggressive message demanding tribute and threatening to destroy the convoy if they didn't comply. The human convoy captain, a merchant named Sarah Liu, simply transmitted a single file labeled Kralon War Archive. The file contained footage from the war, battles, destroyed ships. the devastation of Kralon infrastructure, and finally, the surrender ceremony. The Zenthari ships immediately withdrew without another word. On Earth, in a quiet cemetery where fallen soldiers were buried, Admiral Kovac stood before a memorial wall. It listed the names of every human who had died in the war. Hundreds of names. Good people who had given their lives to protect their species. Vasquez joined him, standing in silence for a moment. Was it worth it? Kovac asked quietly. Thank you for watching and comment for next part.